Alright, so 2-minute Tanya tidbit for today. So yesterday's Tanya, we mentioned the fact that God was willing to be so humble and take his great will and wisdom and bring it down into a physical Torah. That way we should be able to understand it down here in this physical world. Today's Tanya, we say that this is the idea of why Torah is compared to water, as we find that Torah is compared to water in many places. Now what's the idea behind this? Just like water comes from a very high place, yet it flows naturally down to a lower place, so too Torah. Torah comes from a very high place. It was in an honorable place where it was totally one with God himself. And from that high level, it came down through Seder Shalshalos, through all the worlds, until it came down into the physical world down here below. And that's just like water, which comes from a high place and comes down to a much lower place. And Torah came down into such a physical place that it's able to be written down as ink on parchment in the 24 Svarim of Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim, and in a way that we should be able to understand it, that our physical brain should be able to grasp godly concepts. And not only is it in the level of thoughts, but it's even able to be said, which is much a lower accomplishment, and even able to do the actions of Hashem's Torah mitzvahs. And that's a much lower thing. And that way, when a person is able to use his thought, speech, and action to be able to understand God's Torah, which is now on a much lower level from where it started, he's able to fully understand godliness. And therefore, godliness is fully surrounding him, and he's enclosing himself from head to toe in godliness when he's using his thought, speech, and action for Hashem's Torah mitzvahs. As his whole 613 limbs, his entire body is fully doing God's will at that time. So he's fully enclosed and fully experiencing godliness in every single part of his body. Like we see in many psukim, that it says that God's will surrounded me, meaning Hashem's Torah, which is fully encompassing and surrounds a person when he's understanding and doing Hashem's will and wisdom. See you next time.